Peace and blessings. This is Medicine Man once again. Um, all praise absolutely belongs to the Most High, from whom our blessings flow. I pray that you bless all the men and women with peace that flows from your internal essence. Liberate the minds and hearts of those who have went astray, and forgive us all, because no one is free of sin. Allow anyone who has sold their soul to return to greatness. In this video, we're going to speak about the undocumented truth, the reality of what life is, what situations is. It's going to be a very informative video, I can tell you that for the most part. The undocumented truth is based on when it really hurts, and pain is something that we have to process. When it really hurts, or it feels really bad, then that means it's time to have those discussions. It's time to have that awareness. It's time to have that conversation, So this is a great video. I originally recorded it, and I don't want to talk too much about that because, man, time flies, especially when I'm talking. But I recorded the original video and YouTube wouldn't upload it. Interesting. So I'm going to re-record it. And like I said, when it's time to heal, it hurts. We're going to begin this video with the topic of exploitation of people as a means of revenge. Because exploitation is a process that happens and initiated by those people that they don't care who get hurt in the process of their exploitation. They don't care who's used or who will be used or can be used in the process of exploitation. The selling of souls is something that's very, very, very unique as a topic, because I was talking to somebody a few days ago, and I told them that as humans, having this human experience, and as we evolve through life, what we're doing is experimenting with our reality. We're looking at what happens if I do this, what happens if I do that, and we make decisions and choices based on the knowledge of our experiences. And so I told the person, I said, well, if you were ever to sell your soul, to demonic energy or sell your soul, then there is a way that you can take your soul back from evil. And evolution and growth is part of that process, because we are energy beings. I mean, we can talk about that, but we're humans and energy beings all together in one. And when you sell your soul, you can take it back. If you sell your soul to the devil and you realize that, hey, these blessings that the devil is giving me, or these blessings that I'm accumulating from evil, I don't like it. I don't like how I acquired it. So what I want to do is I want to take it back. And yes, you can take your soul back from the devil. You can take your soul back. So, because a lot of people talk about selling their soul, man, and so sell their soul, or these people or these particular people here sold their soul. Okay, once you come to a certain level of awareness, then go take it back. But see, people don't know how to take it back. Taking your soul back from the devil is living in your truest, authentic self, coming to your own interpersonal actualization, and standing in it by all means necessary. Because when you get yourself involved in certain environments, and a lot of us get involved in environments based on not only upbringing, but based on the cards you were dealt. So if you were dealt specific cards, if you was born into a specific reality, if you was born into a specific space and place where there is and what I call a spiritually celestial unconstitutional mandate in place. What that means is that these traditions, these cultures, these beliefs, these perceptions are an accepted reality in the world you're living in. So as humans, black and white, we're born in different realities. There are some people born in poverty. Then there are other people born in the middle class. Then there are other people born in the upper class. These people who are born in the upper class, for some particular reason, strange reason, they think that they're the top notch because they're born rich, material wealth and stuff like that. But, you know, material wealth without honor and material wealth without integrity, material wealth without principle, you're a slave to the devil. Because God bless people the Most High. And I'm trying to stray away from using the word God because it's Greek. So the Most High blesses people. The devil bless people too. Don't get it twisted. And this ain't no religious, religious discussion or whatever. But when people are exploited, here's the reality I know. The reality I know. When people are exploited, that means someone would give you money to go and infiltrate and compromise another person's reality. People will give you drugs. If you're on drugs, okay, cool. I don't judge. Who am I to judge? But people will give you drugs to go and infiltrate somebody else's reality. You see, that's exploitation. It's the same as human trafficking. The only difference is you're not being kidnapped, you're being coerced into participating in a reality in which you really don't know nothing about. You like, people don't be really knowing what they're doing. They just see the money or they see the drugs. And they be like, okay, I'm going to go over here and set this person up, or I'm going to go over here and collect information and data on this person for you. I don't know what's the real reason. I really don't know. But because you're giving me something of material value that I want, yeah, I'm going to participate in it. And then you get hurt in the process. Because there are people that really do have spider senses. The internet is called the web, the World Wide Web. If you ever notice, when you go to your search browser, for every website, it's called web, okay? It means trap and entrapment. www.worldwideweb actually means it's a trap. They're entrapping you for marketing purposes. They're entrapping you for consumerism, which means that they want you to spend money. So they have to trick you. Marketing is a form of trickery. They have to trick you or coerce you into liking their product or liking their services So you get caught in the web. Not to go too far in that. But exploitation of people as a means of revenge is a very heinous practice. It is. You have people that would exploit women. You have people that would exploit children. You have women that would exploit women. You have men that would exploit women. You have men that will exploit men. All for an agenda. Revenge. Historically, men have used women as pawns for agendas. We can see that a lot in organizations. We do. You see it a lot in organizations. People get all kinds of accusations made against them by women, and some women are actually like, I don't like to talk about women at all. I like for women to have their own conversation about themselves, because no one can be able to analyze someone better than themselves. So, I respect the need. I respect the energy, and I also respect the activity of women having these discussions amongst themselves and not in public spaces and places. But there are women that are part of organizations that are used as pawns. There are women in the streets that are used as pawns. Like, we can talk about the exploitation of women in prostitution, the exploitation of women in human trafficking. These things are real. And so when people have these agendas against you, what they would do is they would take these exploited people and they would use them to come at you, because people analyze and they will study your life to see what you're doing, how you're doing it, and who you're doing it with. So they'll see how they interject. One thing about the exploitation of people is that I've learned that from my past. I've learned that from the streets. Like, for example, when you're around specific individuals and people, let's say, for example, they want to go and rob this person. So step one, they got to get intel. If they want to rob that person, this big drug dealer or whatever, they got to get intel on that person. The number one way they use to get intel on that person, they send a female. And they pay them and say, hey, go and get with so-and-so and see where they put their package at, or go see so-and-so and see what they got their money at, and stuff like that, and bring us that information. The problem with exploitation in that nature is if that person becomes aware, if that person takes their phone and look in the phone and see all these text messages, if that person becomes totally aware of what happens, then you're putting that woman in a position to be hurt. Everybody don't play like that. Like, seriously. And so this is a common practice that comes from the street. In the corporate world, they use that as well. Anytime in the corporate world they want to bring you down, you look, hey, we get a woman, we'll pay her some money, give her some favors and opportunities, and let her go. But what happens is when that woman get hurt, then that person becomes the bad guy. But the question is that person really protecting their self? Because in life, you have to protect you. And it is, a very common belief that if you intentionally go in someone's energy, go around anyone, if they're doing good or bad, if you go around anyone with negative intentions and you get it's found out, they do have a right to protect themselves. And this is why I see that exploitation is evil. It's evil. And most people that exploit women and children and things like that, they're cowards. They're cowards. Because if you have as a man, if you have a problem with someone, with another man, then you should come and address it. You really should. But I think that because we're devoid, the majority of men in this society are actually devoid of manhood. And one of the main reasons why the majority of men are devoid of manhood is because, we have not liberated our people. We have not done anything substantial for the freedom of our communities or controlling the resources in our communities as a collective, and doing things that empower our people without shaking hands with those that don't have our best interest in mind. That is a very big question when it comes to manhood. Are you a man? I think that the majority of people define manhood according to gender specific principles. But there was a psychiatrist. I was reading a book. I think it was Dr. Naeem Akbar. I don't like to call people name. But rest in peace to that brother. Very, very much a genius. From boy, he said, you're a male, then you're a boy, then you're a man. You're a female, then you're a girl, then you're a woman. Those are stages of growth, defined principles. A male specific. A boy is a young boy who needs guidance, needs direction, but positive guidance and positive direction that could send him into the right journey towards manhood, in which manhood is meaning becoming the male species that provides, protects, and empowers your family structure, and the dynamic of your family. And so that's very important in understanding in our evolution, because if you come from certain environments, and like earlier I said, there's certain environments, certain economic brackets, certain social, political brackets involved here. So when you're coming from the hood or poverty, it's very important to understand that poverty has different principles and morals than the middle class. The middle class and poverty both have different principles and morals than the upper class. People operate based on their need for survival. So in the upper class, there's a different level of survival happening there. There's also a different level of survival happening in the middle class, and there's also a different level of survival happening in the lower class and poverty. Each principles and morals in each one of those categories are determined by their need to survive in that. You see? So when you're exploiting people, the most exploitation happens at the top and the bottom. Because people who are in extreme survival mode in poverty, they will exploit anyone. And I'm gonna quote a quick story, something that I know from the past. There was this old lady who was a bootlegger, right? This old lady was loved by everyone in the community. The alcoholics, let's be real. She was loved by everyone. And she would, even if you ain't had no money, man, and you said, man, I'm not gonna call her name, so-and-so, if I need a half pint, man, can I get a half pint of Hennessy or can I get a half pint of vodka? And she'd be like, sure, young man, you should get it to you, and you come back and pay her. They robbed her. No joke. They robbed this lady. Like some dudes got her in their mind, somehow in their mind, to figure, man, so-and-so, she making a lot of money, man. She got all the money. Like, you really literally walked past all the jewelry stores. You literally really walked past all the banks, corporate entities that, that collectively extract wealth out of your community. You walk past all these people and you say, man, I'm gonna go get her and rob this old lady. And it took like $13,000. They robbed the old lady, took like $13,000 from her. And as a consequence, she was already old. And as a consequence, man, you know, it was heavier on her heart. She passed away, you know, a year later or so. And because she stopped selling liquor, and it was heavy on her heart because she really had love for the community, man. And they did her like that. Oh, yeah. And so those are boys. A man would have not done anything like that. You see, a man wouldn't have done that. A man would have said, man, that's my so-and-so, man. Y'all don't do nothing. You don't do nothing like that. Wouldn't sit around and encourage it, and then after it happened, go buy new shoes and clothes and stuff like that. Horrible behavior. And that exploitation, like I call it selective exploitation. Selective. You walk past all the banks, you walk past all the jewelry stores, you walk past all of these other places that you could go in and get merchandise or money from people who don't have your best interest in mind. But you went and terrorized an old lady who was showing love to everybody. You know? And they're mouth shut. Nobody said nothing. Nobody said, man, y'all wrong for that. Don't say a word. You see? So when I say that women and children are exploited, is very serious. Very serious. It's one of the most serious issues in society today, in American society, as well as, you know, children as well. They will exploit it for an agenda. They got an agenda. They would pay somebody, they would pay kids, younger people to come at you. Not you coming to them. They would pay them to come towards you, to have some kind of interaction or whatever, whatnot. And so that they can document it and say, oh, look, see y'all, look. You know, I hate that mentality. That's sucker stuff. You know, silence allows the presence of evil to take place, to become firmly rooted and grounded. And so, you know, there's a segment in this video, in my previous video, where I was talking about the shh effect. The shh effect is when people have an agenda they're trying to accomplish, and they notice that the people around them see that, hey, you're not operating in good faith. You're not operating in your higher self. We see it. But what happens is they use the shh effect. Behind the shh effect is fear. It's intimidation, and it is fear. They will instill that fear in you, like, you better not say nothing. You better not say nothing. We're going to accomplish our agenda. And you better not say nothing, or we're going to do the same thing to you that we're about to do to them. So what they do as I call it a dark psychology tactic. And it's intimidating, and it is threatening to people who really are afraid to stand on their 10. So they go around, shh, shh. Y'all seen that emoji when with the like this? That's what they use. They use it on social media a lot, telling you to shut up, don't say nothing, or we're due to you what we're doing to them or about to do to them. So you got to be very careful, because silence, them demanding your silence, means that they are not willing to be held accountable for what they're doing. They're not willing to be held accountable. They feel that their agenda is greater than their accountability. And the shh effect is the tactic that they use. Be quiet, don't say nothing. Well, guess what? We live in a society as Black Americans where we're told to shh, don't say nothing, so people can complete their agendas. But behind the shh is a threat of violence, a threat of intimidation. So if you're not saying anything, then that gives them the green light to continue to do what they're doing. These types of people don't care who get hurt in the process of them accomplishing their agenda. Very much and very well. And it's all for setups, well orchestrated ones too. What happens when you observe a setup? Have any of you guys really been set up in life? I mean, there's different types. You have the familial setup where you could actually be born into a family structure and family dynamic that would set you up. A lot of it happens just speaking specifically from the family dynamic. A lot of it happens because you're the result of a good time. I ain't tripping. I'm telling the truth. You're a result of a good time. So, and what that means is that people really never had the intentions of having a child now. How many of you guys, parents, really decided to say, okay, we're going to make a baby. We're going to have a child? How many of your parents actually said that? Probably a very few. The majority of us came into this world as the result of two people having a good time. They didn't have an idea about, we have a baby, how are we going to deal with this baby after having this good time? It was never intended for that. Many of us are the results of a good time, and I don't like to like in this video, I don't want to crack any jokes, but I just have to say this one. Many of us are the result of $40 in a good time. Seriously. And so what does that mean when it comes, when happens when the child actually comes into these people's life? They don't want that child. They didn't plan. That wasn't on their agenda. They don't want it. So as a result, a lot of children end up going into foster care or being raised by another family member. And the worst of them all, they're mistreated. It's the worst. You would probably rather go to foster care and get into a loving family that wants a child, or you would probably, come out better being raised by your grandparents or an auntie or something like that who loves that child and wants to see the best for that child, knowing the circumstances. But the worst possible case scenario is two people get together, have a good time, create a child, and then turn around and really don't want them. So what they do, they have to pretend. They have to pretend now. They have to pretend like they really want to raise this child. You see, they have to pretend. And so what happens is children born in those type of circumstances, they actually are being abused psychologically, mentally, and emotionally. Why? Because the original intentions to have a child, the original intentions to raise a child was not there. They were just having a good time, and you're the result of it. They didn't want to raise no baby. They were just trying to have an hour of a good time. That was it. Now you come into the play, now they don't want you. But they have to pretend to grandma, or they have to pretend to grandpa, aunt and uncles and aunties. They have to pretend like, oh yeah, I'm raising this baby. Deep down inside, they didn't want that child. And many of us are the result of that. That explains why a lot of children have problems with their parents. I am one of the type of people, that definitely believe in my journey. As I'm traveling more on my journey, I'm learning more. And I definitely believe that, if you don't embrace that reality that, okay, I made a child, so now I need to make the intentions to raise that child. If you don't step into that reality, you will abuse your children. You will. Yeah, you definitely will abuse your children if you don't make that intention, even though you had a good time. Yeah, you had a good time, a great one. But after you get pregnant and make a baby, after you impregnate a woman, then you have to Think about what's best. What's best for the child? Yeah, I was having a good time, but guess what? I done made a baby. So now I need to step into the intentional role of raising that child. Many people don't do that. They have this resentment, like, man, I done made a baby now. Man, they get all sad and depressed. Instead of getting proactive and saying, okay, I made an adult decision. I did that. So now I need to move better. I need to make sure that this child is straight. Even if it was $40 in a good time, I still need to make sure this child is straight. Even though I didn't have the intentions, I still have to make sure this child is straight. That's called adulting. And this is why I'm a firm believer nowadays that if you're going to make a child, you should really plan for it. Other than that, wrap it up, cap it up, or whatever, depple it up, or whatever you need to do. If you don't have any intentions, or be celibate until you're ready to have that experience and you're ready to be responsible for that experience. It's very important. When there's a well-orchestrated setup that happens in your life, right? It can come from many different angles. And I don't want to get into my personal experiences, but I'll say this. For the young men that are in the streets and you go to prison and things like that and doing things like that, I would be the first one to tell you that when you go to prison, do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, you don't know who your family and you don't know who your friends are associating with. Because you can very well be in prison doing your time, paying your debt to society. And your family and friends become friends, become best friends and associates with the reason why you went to prison. So let's say you shot somebody, hypothetically. You shot somebody and you come home, your family and friends are family and friends with the people and their family and friends that you shot. And you don't know. You was gone. You don't know. That gives the room and opportunity for these people to play head games and mind games. They'll be friends with your moms. They'll be friends with your dad. They'll be friends with your cousins. And the whole time, they don't like you. And they'll do everything in their power to turn your family against you. And they won't even know or have a clue because of their level of ignorance. But you could be set up like that. Very well. Be set up just like that. In my experience, I was set up like that. I was gone, I'm truly transparent. So when I went to prison and I came home, I didn't really want to speak about it, but I'll say it anyway. When I went to prison and I came home, my family, man, my mother and family members and cousins and stuff, they were friends with, my victim's family and friends and associates. They were friends with them. And I used to point it out. I used to be like, yo, it's not cool, man. I don't think you want to do that. And some of the responses that I received was like, that's my friend. You jealous of me having friends? I'm like, nah, I'm just letting you know, like, these people associated with these people. So, be friends with them. I don't care. Just don't talk my business. Don't tell nobody where I live. Don't tell nobody what I got going on. Because in environments like that, in situations like that, people are fishing for information. So when I originally moved to Florida, the first time, I went down to Jacksonville. I was in Jacksonville. And, I received a call from my cousin. And my cousin was like, yeah, so-and-so asks about you. And I'm like, why is that person asking about me? Like they were really concerned about my growth and development and all this good stuff, right? And then I realized that that person, so-and-so, was really connected with some people that I needed to stay away from. And come to find out, so-and-so was just fishing information through my cousin to find out where I was at. And so when you're being set up where people are seeking like revenge on you, they use tactics like that. Oh yeah. They use tactics. They'll call you, they'll be cool with your family members, and your family members don't be really knowing. They don't be really knowing. But it happens in different scenarios too, not only in my type of scenario where you go to prison and these things take place, but it happens in scenarios where you stop communicating with people too. You may stop communicating with people and for whatever reason, and then they would still try to find out things about you through friendships with your family, with fake concern. You know, oh, how's so-and-so doing? You thinking, and they're thinking in their mind that they're just giving a positive update. Oh yeah, man, he doing good. Yeah, man, she's doing well. And they'll be like, where they at now? You know, where they at now? We don't see them around anymore. Oh yeah, they live in Jacksonville now. They got 2 jobs, bought a truck. They're doing this, and this, doing great for themselves. And then they go run back because your family member don't know that this person is just fishing information with their fake concern. They're fishing. And then they go back and tell these people, hey, yeah, he in Jacksonville. Yeah, she in Jacksonville. Yeah, he or she in this place. Yeah, he or she in that place. And these people would actually, because they're obsessed with you in some particular way, they would actually call down to that city, to people that they know there. Yeah, y'all need to watch this person or watch that person. And all the time you're like, for what? What's happening there? Or they'll put money like, get this person for us. Do us a favor and get this person. And those type of things happen. And this is how people set you up. And you can be caught in a real life Truman Show. A real life Truman Show. When people do things like that. They would actually call around to everybody they know and get everybody involved and not knowing the real depths of it, especially if a person that served their time and paid their debts to society, but you're still not really knowing the depths of it. Like all of that, because people are truly obsessed out here. There's a lot, I made a video that's on my YouTube that's called Obsession is a Form of Spiritual Possession. And I recommend people watch that because I elaborated on that energy right there. I did. Because when people come obsessed with you, they're possessed by a demonic energy, a demonic spiritual energy that just wants to keep focus on you. And so when you're dealing with the real life Truman Show, that real life, I call it the Truman Syndrome. When you're dealing with that energy, man, let me tell you, people would influence people to come at you in certain ways so that they can get a reaction out of you. I am a firm believer in self-defense. I'm a firm believer in, enjoy your life. Have a great time. Be great. Exert positivity in the air because nobody want to wake up. Like, who wakes up in the morning and say, oh, let me go see who I can hurt today? There might be some people out there like that. But me personally, I don't operate in that frequency at all. Like, seriously. That's real weirdo behavior. When you wake up and say, oh, let me see who I gonna hurt today. That's some Sesame Street shit, to be honest with you. And I wouldn't even attribute that to the street because there's a lot of people in the street, man, that got great hearts, man. They don't move like that. That's somebody who's really sick, who say I'm going to intentionally go out there and hurt people. But I'm a firm believer in self-defense, though. I'm a firm believer in you send somebody to somebody, you got to look at it from different perspectives. You send somebody at somebody to gain information, to place them in a position of harm, to lure them to particular places where people are waiting to ambush them, then doesn't matter. That self-defense is not gender specific. So if you're a guy and you're with a girl, defend yourself. If you're a girl and you're with a guy, defend yourself. If you're a guy or a girl and it involves teenagers, defend yourself. By all means necessary, please do so. We only got one life to live. You know what I mean? And so protect yourself in all those environments when you're dealing with well orchestrated. Because what people would do is pay people to come into your life. You would deal with fake relationships. You're going to deal with fake co-workers. Everybody's pretending. But here you go with your good heart. You're trying to make sure everybody's straight. And they're playing. They're playing. Because they've been coerced. Or they may have been threatened. Or they may have been paid. Doesn't matter why they're doing what they're doing. What matters is when your Spider-Man sense kicks in. Or your Spider-Woman senses kick in. It is very important that you protect yourself. By all means necessary. It might not look good, but you are responsible for the soul and spirit in your body. So you have to protect it. You know, like the famous Bible verse, you are the temple of God. You destroy your temple. And I'm going to add, if you allow someone else to destroy your temple, then God won't destroy you. It's just like that, man. That's the real reality. You know, I'm very transparent about that. That's the real reality. And so when you in environments like that, you have to know how to navigate it to kind of keep people away. And so many of us, we have our flaws and vices and stuff like that too. And we deal with random people. We deal with multiple people. And you just have to be totally aware that no matter what environment you're dealing in, you have to be aware if this person is really there to have an experience with you on any level, business or personal, or if this person or these people are there to collect information or to place you in a vulnerable situation where you have to either defend yourself or lose your life. The choice is yours, you know, because your life you're responsible for. But over here, for me, I always will defend myself, point blank. When you're running a business, these type of energies, these types of people will use clients. That's something that I've experienced. They will use clients. Client come pay thousands of dollars just to have the open door opportunity to sit on the phone with you, to record you, to have you come to their property to do whatever work of your electrician or a plumber or a root worker or whatever you are. They would pay you to come to their property, pay you to, you know, to be around them, to provide, because you're providing a service as a business owner. And what you have to realize is that flying monkeys use real situations, real scenarios to collect data on you or to lure you and place you in situations where other people could possibly, potentially harm you. So you have to be very aware of that as well. And these are undocumented truths. You have to be very aware of that. And so when you're aware of it, you go and you provide your service and you leave. This is why a lot of professional people or people who have businesses, they don't befriend their clients. That's a lesson I learned as, you know, as a root worker, you know what I mean? And, you know, knowing my past and knowing where I come from and things like that. And as I move towards doing better in the community or doing or contributing something positive. And I mean, if you've contributed something negative, okay, cool. But at some point in your life, you have to learn how to contribute something positive to the growth and development and evolution of people so that you cannot become like the people that hurt you. You cannot become like the people who abandoned you. Who wants to do that? Who wants to be abandoned or abused and say, you know what? Because I was abandoned and abused, I want to be just like them and I want to go out and do the same thing they're doing. That's an imbecile. Truly, an imbecile that does that. A person with a good heart would realize that, man, this is wrong. I don't want to, like this whole scheme of things, the whole schematics is wrong. The whole blueprint is corrupted. I don't want to be like none of them. So what you do is use your abusive environment. You use your abusive family structure. You use your abusive culture. I don't even want to get into how abusive Black culture and American culture can really be. But you use it as a form of inspiration to say to yourself, I have to drink some water. To say to yourself, I don't want to be nothing like them. So they should inspire you when you see that foolish behavior. Even when you participate in that foolish behavior, you say, man, that dumb stuff I did, it now inspires me to never do it again, to never be around these people anymore, to never participate in this activity or whatever again. It inspires you. Every mistake you make is not only a mistake, it's a lesson. But in the midst of learning the lesson, you must be inspired. You have to be inspired to not go that way ever again. It has to be inspirational. And so that's part of the process. But when you're running a business, you have to draw boundaries with your clients, man. You don't want clients talking about, oh, I like you. Man, you don't want that. Because that's the first red flag. That's the first red flag. That client is there for some ulterior motive. When they start hitting on you. A lot of women go through that with men clients. You know, a lot of them. You know, I was dealing with somebody, was talking to somebody, and they hired an architect, right? A guy. He was a male. They hired this architect. He was like the best architect in the city, and he was doing a blueprint for her building. And I didn't really like that idea because the energy, when I like kind of looked into the energy of that person, I'm like, this ain't gonna turn out well. And they was like, and she was like, well, I already paid him X amount of dollars, whatever, blah, blah. And I was like, man, I don't like this energy. Go get your money back. And the next time you choose somebody, let me like look into this person's energy so I can figure out if this person is correct or good for you in your endeavors. Because everybody's energy is always not in alignment with what you're trying to achieve. So she was like, I already paid him, and she kind of brushed me off. I'm like, okay. Next thing you know, a couple of days later, she called me. And she be like, man, Medicine Man, that guy who I hired to, you know, to do the blueprint for my flooring for my business, he talk about if he can take me to lunch. I said, see? But lo and behold, I think, you know, I really think, I never really asked, but I just think that she was flirting with him too, playing into the energy. And what ended up happening is the guy's wife knows him. So he said, so she's like, you got another pretty girl client? Probably looked at his phone or whatever and saw the text where he was sending to her, flirting, talking about taking her lunch. And so he had to go meet, well, she had to go meet him at his office And the wife pulled up. And you know what the wife did? Made him drop the case, made him drop the situation, made him lose that potential business. And it's because she knew him, you know what I mean? And so, like I said, you have to draw a boundary with your clients, because if you don't, you can always get yourself in situations. In that situation, it just was a scenario where his wife knew that he has no boundaries with his clients. His wife knew most of his clients are wealthy. Like, they need architect work done. Blueprints are expensive, man. Like, you go get a blueprint for a building, that's $10,000, whatever dollars. So he was flirting with a lot of wealthy women. His wife knew that. She knew the nature of his business. And she also knew that he had no boundaries, and she was on his top about that. Bless those people. But it's very important on whatever side of the spectrum you're on client or you're the service provider, you have to draw boundaries with your clients, because your clients could actually be spies. Your clients could actually be IRS agents. Your clients could actually be federal agents, depending on what kind of business you're running, or just people who are determined to destroy your business, but in order to do so, they have to get very close to you to do that. And they're going to hit on you. They're liking you and stuff like that, but their whole agenda and motive is to collect information and data on you to see what they can use to hurt you. That's the truth. And so when I say that clients can be flying monkeys in your business, you better believe it. Doesn't matter how much money that they're spending with you or whatever. They could spend thousands with you and still be there for ulterior motives. And they'll use real scenarios, real situations, and it'll be all well orchestrated as a setup to set you up for failure. And you have to be very aware. Draw that boundary. Trust me, draw the boundary. I've learned that from my own personal experience. Getting involved, when I was single, I was single, and I decided to I got this particular client. The client became my girlfriend, and it also became a tragedy that I'm obviously still dealing with right now, because that girlfriend was a paid informant, paid by others to get involved with me. And you have to be very careful and particular about that, because when people come into your life to set you up in a well-orchestrated setup, they'll sleep with you. Man, how many of y'all, I know many of y'all been sleeping with people that don't even like you. Some of you guys right now probably laying in the bed right now watching this video was next to somebody that don't even like you, and you know it. Or you're laying in the bed with somebody you don't like, and you know it. And when people don't like you, they definitely don't love you. And so it becomes a dangerous situation. But many of us put ourselves in these dangerous situations for financial stability. So a lot of women end up staying with men because they have not become independent in the aspect of being able to pay their own bills and handle their own financial situations. So they stay with a man that they know don't like them. A lot of men stay with women they know don't like them. And if you know somebody don't like you, you also know they don't love you. You also know that. That's a dangerous situation to be in, because for a little, they say people will do a little something strange for a piece of change. Man, that's real. They'll do something strange for a piece of change. So it's like they don't like you. So if somebody wants to harm or hurt you, they'll green light it. Go ahead. I don't care. As long as I get to keep the house and the car. As long as I got his credit card, as long as I got her credit card, I don't care. Doesn't matter. You have to be very careful, because those flying monkeys in your life could very well be the one you're laying next to. It could also be your family members. Them flying monkeys could be your family members. Like I say, the most dangerous family members in your family are those family members that associate, affiliate, communicate, and do business with people that they know don't like you. They're dangerous. Those are the type of family members you need to keep them away from you, man. They're dangerous. And they'll look you in your face, like I said earlier, and say, that's my friend, or we just doing business. You trying to stop me from making some money? No, I'm not trying to do that. I'm telling you that money you're making, that friendship you have is just a cover up for that person to get close to you so they can fish for information about me to take back somewhere else towards people that have the intentions of harming you. That's how it works. That's the dynamics of it. So you have to draw boundaries. And if your family members don't respect you enough to draw those boundaries for the love of you, then your family members are spiritually your enemy. Now, that might be a little harsh, especially when you talk about parents, because we got this thing where people respect titles. They be out there respecting titles. But today, in today's time, those titles don't mean nothing, man. It's about love, respect, and honor. So if your mother is doing that, I'm going to tell you, I'll be the first to cut them off. If your father is doing that, I'll be the first one to tell you, cut them off. If your sister, brother, aunt, uncle, cousin, don't matter who it is, if they are doing that, cut them off. If they are friends with people that they know don't like you, separate yourself from them. They are dangerous. You know why? Because people like to talk. And people are easily manipulated. Their friends could be acting like they got good concern for you. The whole time they're pretending. They're under the Truman Syndrome. They're just pretending to have concern about you, to get information about you. So when you have those family members that are friends with people that they know or should know, or that you've informed them, and they continue, those family members, you have to put them in the category of being extremely dangerous. Hold that thought. I'll be right back. Now, back. Some of it, when you're dealing with family members and so on and so forth or whatnot, that are friends or whatever with people that they know don't like you. Some of it is intentional because they don't like you either. So they do it. And that's a spiritual attack. It's really spiritual attack. Let me tell you a story. Story time. Tell you a story. I had an uncle, right? And I don't really want to share this, man, because, you want to keep your personal business. But, I'm transparent, man. Truly. I had an uncle I did some business with. And in the past, it was like 20 years ago. And the business didn't go good. So I gave him his money and I gave him extra back. And he was mad that I didn't continue to do business with him. But I cut him off. I was like, man, you being extra, bro. You being a little extra. So here go your money, and here go the other stuff that I owed you, or I feel compelled to give you, merchandise. Here goes this. Here it goes. I gave it to him. So he was well compensated. But because he was angry that I didn't continue to do business with him, he decided to go on a whole rampage smear campaign and told people I took something from him or I did him wrong. I didn't do my business correct with him and whatever. And went on and on and on and on. Now, mind you, this uncle of mine hasn't seen me in 15 years. Hasn't seen me in 15 years. Like I moved to I've lived all over, man. Lived in other states and all of that. Haven't seen me in 15 years. And tells the story like it happened yesterday. Even right now today. Still does that. Tells the story like it happened yesterday. And even, I'm gonna be honest with you, he went on Facebook on his page and made a post about me. Man, that was like 16 years ago. And he made a Facebook post about me. It was like the end of last year. A big long post, but a post about that long. Like he's newly mad about something. You know, and you know, I was disappointed because, you know, I separated myself from his energy. And even that life that we dealt with 20 years ago, I separated myself from all of that. But it just became like incredibly weird that 17 years later, you just mysteriously decides to put a Facebook post up talking about me and the situation and how angry you are. And I was perplexed. I was angry at first. I was real mad. But then I was like, hold up. Let me transmute that energy real quick. And I thought about it. I said, man, he's really sick. Not only is he really sick, he was really obsessed with me in some form or fashion. And a lot of it comes from bigotry. I get it. Bigotry. They see me do the root work, or they see me into my spiritual belief, and they see me elevating and growing. And sometimes your growth threatens other people's stagnation. Because somewhere in their mind and their spirit, they place themselves as better than you. Somewhere. I don't know. But somewhere in their mind, their spirit, they place themselves better than you. And so your growth and evolution threatens their perception of you. Your growth and evolution threatens their stagnation. Because they know deep down inside, in order to become better than him, I got to do something bigger than what he's doing. So I got to grow too. And I got to grow bigger than him because I'm better than him. And that's where the threat comes in. That's where the devil comes in too. You ain't about to do all that growing. Not over here. You know what I mean? The devil be like, no, you're not about to do all that growing. You're not going to grow. You can hate him, but you're not better than him because you're not going to grow. I'm not going to allow you to grow. So sometimes your growth and evolution, yes, absolutely. It threatens the stagnation of others. Because somewhere in their mind, they done come to this weird conclusion that I'm better than that person. So when you're doing something that they cannot do, they get angry. Very angry. And so I realized that from that experience. Well, I've been knew that, but I realized that from my experience with my own uncle. My own uncle. He would actually intentionally communicate, congregate, and make friends with anybody that don't like me. It's weird. And that's why I say family members can be extremely dangerous. And so when it comes to the dysfunction of families, you know, white, black, brown, color don't even matter when it comes to that energy, for real. You know, you have particular family members that when they don't like you, they would intentionally go out and find others that don't like you and become their friends. They'll form a whole network. And most of the times, those people be looking at them like, boy, I don't trust this. You know, you betray your own nephew. Think I'm going to trust you? Nah, I'll let you around and we'll hee ha ha. But I don't trust you like that now. But they'll do those things. And it's weird. Absolutely weird. Especially when situations happened 20 years ago or whatnot, and you running around on Facebook posting it like it happened yesterday. That is extremely weird. It just gives you the idea that, okay, those friends that don't like me that you have must be inspired you somehow. They must be paid you some money or gave you some drugs to do something like that. Because that's insidious. It really is. And so when I say that there are a lot of federal and CIA agents online in secret societies agitating violence and oppression amongst distraught people, it's serious. They're trying to control, alt, delete. You know, when you look on your computer, you see those three buttons: control, alt, and delete. Control, we already know what that means. Alt means to alterate, to change, to alternate, to change something, and to delete something. And so they're trying to get rid of you. So when you use control, or you hit control, alt, delete, you're getting rid of some type of program in your computer. You're deleting it. But those are the buttons you have to press control, alt, delete, you know, to get rid of something. And so there's a lot of federal agents and CIA agents that has infiltrated, like even the spiritual community. They've infiltrated every community online. And what they'll do is, you know, like I spoke earlier about that shh effect. They do those things. They tell people be quiet. A lot of major content creators, you know, not all, absolutely not all, but a lot of them are part of that organization or these organizations, these cults. And, you know, I'm the kind of person where I don't like deal with that. You know, I like to work with people, not against people. And I view like cults as communities of sociopathic people. You know, and a sociopath, I think I'll get into that a little later, but sociopaths are groups of psychopaths that come together to form like a group of people that obviously they're very agenda based. They have a lot of resources and so on and so forth, and they're very agenda based. You know, and they use tactics. Like one of the tactics that they use on social media is clout chasing. You know, clout chasing ain't nothing but a government tactic that has been designed to divide and conquer. And that's just honest. You know, because what does the majority of clout chasers chase? They chase the propagation of negative energy over the internet. Negative energy over the internet. Have you ever been fishing? When you go fishing, like you use a net or crabbing, you know, you use a net and you throw this net in the water, you know, old school style. You tie a piece of chicken in the middle, in the center of the net. And you just sling that net in the water. You let it sit down there for about 10, 15 minutes. You pull it up. You got fish, shrimp, and crabs in that net. That's what the internet is. So when you're talking about clout chasing is catching negative energy and using that negative energy for financial gain. Because who clout chases positivity? No one. People who clout chase. Since when you ever seen anyone clout chasing positivity, positive energy, clout chasing elevation? When have you ever seen anybody clout chase liberation? When have you ever seen anyone clout chase economic development? When have you ever seen someone clout chase the building and restoration of broken communities? You don't. You just absolutely don't. Because clout chasing is energy specific to negative energy. So anytime people got problems, clout chasing is the act of exasperating the problem. Clout chasing is the act of making a negative situation worse. For what? Financial gain, of course. More followers, more likes, more views. That is called toxic positivity. And they'll do it. I mean, it'll sound positive and inspirational as hell. And in reality, it's really to get these two forces to clash, and that's catastrophic to the development, upliftment, and the growth of human beings. You know how many people, honestly, have lost their lives because of internet clout chasing. You got these people with these huge profiles. They bring up situation about this person, and then they bring up situation with that person. It happens in the hip hop community all the time. All the time. You see these streamers and stuff like that. And I'm not calling anybody name in particular. I'm talking about the actual act of it. You see these streamers, they talk about this person, and then these streamers talk about that person and what they got going on. Well, so-and-so said this about such and such. And then this other streamer said, well, so-and-so said that about such and such. And then the people who are actually involved in the situation, they watch these streamers and they get mad at the content. Yeah. They watch the streamers and get mad at the content. But they don't get mad at the streamers for agitating the situation. Of course not. They go get mad at the person that they had the problem with. They go, and this one get mad at that person they had the problem with. So now these guys are there fighting and killing and hurting one another. Because a clout chasing streamer or streamers agitated the situation. And then after the agitation, these people keep going on and making more. Oh, they'll be right there. They'll be right there. Afterwards, somebody dead or somebody in the hospital or whatever, they'll be right there still making more content. Ooh, look at the dress his mama had on at his funeral. Ooh, look at that dress her sister had on at her funeral. It's crazy. That's insanity. Is what it is. But clout chasing is a government tactic. And we got to be very careful about what you're observing out here. Because you may very well be caught up into a government programming that is deeply rooted in the minds of people to agitate negativity, exasperate and spread negativity for financial gain. It is one of the many repercussions, obviously, of capitalism. We live in a capitalist society, which is based on competition, people competing. So, in the act of competition and the act of competing, what happens is people would use negative energy. They use negative circumstances to compete with others. Why do you think the biggest streamers, right here, even on YouTube, are people that propagate and promote negativity? Anytime something negative going on, boom, they drop a video. Oh, let me tell you. Oh, no. And it's not to because there's a lot of these streamers who have the potential. It's how you transmute that energy. They have the potential to take that same platform, to take that same energy and use it to propagate empowerment, real liberation for everybody, real conscious awareness. They have that power and still get the same financial benefit they're looking for. And so this is why it's important to not chase money. This is why all of the religious scriptures that we can read or whatever, if you believe in the Bible, if you really believe in the Quran, if you believe in other scriptures, it all tells you in some way, form, or fashion that money is the root of evil. Material things, the root of evil. Because if you try to accumulate money without honor, without principle, then you're willing to get it by all means necessary, even if it means selling this person out, even if it means agitating black on black crime, even if it means agitating black on white crime, even if it means agitating police on black crime, even if it means agitating white on black crime. We're going to do it because we feel that these topics, this conversation is going to get me views. And likes and cash apps and donations and top follower badges and and it's because they're not consciously aware of their environment. When you're not consciously aware of the environment, America is an environment. We're not only talking about the hood, we're not only talking about your city or your set, we're talking about the environment of America. America is an environment that allows the destruction of people for profit. That thing has been principalized in American culture. It has been magnified in Black culture because of the fact that we are the most impoverished people here. Most impoverished. So we're trying to figure a way out of poverty. What happens? Well, the best way out of poverty, I guess somebody created this principle. The best way out of poverty is take negative information, negative circumstances happening between people, and magnify it for followers. That means the people that are viewing this stuff, that means the people that are commenting and liking it, they're under a programming. Everyone from the creator of the content, from the pushers of the content, these platforms, when they see, let me tell you something, there are people in the background, they'll see you put out this video and they'll promote it for you without you even knowing. They'll sit there behind the computer and manipulate the algorithm to get you more views when you're putting out negative material, negative content. Yeah. There are people in the background that, the unseen hands of these platforms, they would change the algorithm to make sure that negative content, destructional content, especially against brown and Black people, gets more views than liberational content, than conscious content that uplifts Black and brown people. Hell, they'd even do it to white folks too. White people start talking positive and stuff like that and really mean it from their heart. The algorithm is configured in a certain way that they only can go by so far with that information as far as who the platforms itself would actually show it to. That believes that means that there is a conspiracy to keep negative energy floating, negative content, anything that agitates peace, incites violence and corruption. The algorithm is designed to perpetuate it because the internet is owned and designed by these CIA federal agents that work on it, that work behind the scenes, the creators of the algorithms. All of these people are agents, man. I dropped the same video yesterday and ain't nothing wrong with my internet. When it went to upload, that I woke up this morning, the video was still uploading. So what they did is only 1 minute and 30 seconds of this same video I made yesterday was uploaded. So I said to myself, I wonder if the algorithm handlers are behind it. Inquiring minds would like to know. Because I understand that there's a lot of CIA federal agents that sit behind it. They don't want the truth to come out. No form, no way, no fashion. They don't want no truth. None. No truth, no real truth. They want the watered down versions can, they get a lot of views and stuff. But the real truth, they'll stop you at the gate. They'll stop you right at the gate. Now that video ain't even getting uploaded. So I originally thought, like, okay, maybe I should just record the video instead of going live, record the video, then upload it. Maybe that way. I was thinking about that this morning. I said, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do it the same way I did it before just to see what happens. I want to see if this video gets uploaded because I understand that the algorithm handlers, they would be on it. I totally understand it. I totally get it. And so that's part of the shh effect I was talking about earlier. They tell you, shh, don't say nothing while you're being sabotaged. Don't say nothing. We're going to sabotage this person. We're going to sabotage these people. And that's why if you look at advertising, especially on TikTok, look at the ads. Look at this when it comes to the commercials and ads on TikTok. It's okay for this to propagate Temu products, but this is selling Revlon and the big name products. This got endorsement deals with the big name products. This can only, for the most part, promote Temu products. And that's just real. That ain't no joke. It just is what it is, unless you're part of that circle. And we all know what it takes to become part of that circle. It takes an active, open rejection of your conscious awareness of who you are to be part of that circle where you can be this color and you're getting high performing ads like from Revlon. Everybody that promote like this, you look at the ads on TikTok. When you go back to TikTok, just scroll through, and every time you see an ad or something, when you're seeing these big name pharmaceutical companies, I was watching a thing about the diabetic medicine. Like, we know Black people suffer from diabetes more than anybody else. We know this. But you have this type of people headlining all the ads on diabetes. There's people right here. They run all the ads on diabetes. Any kind of diabetic medication, any kind of service for people with diabetes. Hell, they don't even have diabetes. They don't. I mean, they do, but come on, let's just be honest, man. Diabetes proportionately affects the African American community. So why, if you know you're promoting a product to help curb diabetes, why is this kind of people who rarely have diabetes, it's a rarity that a white person is a diabetic. Let's just be honest. But in all the ads, they're all white people. Know why? Inclusion. That's why. That's why. You're not going to get those high-paying ads because those pharmaceutical companies, they pay more than the Temu products. So it's okay for brown people to have all these commercials and get sponsors for the Temu products. It's all a design. That design is everywhere. That white supremacy that we're talking about, that global hegemony we're talking about, it is everywhere, even in the algorithm, because the algorithm makers are agents. So if you ain't shaking certain hands and licking certain boots, then you ain't gonna be able to make it. And that's the same reason why you have some artists, even Drake's, I don't, like talk about the artists and all that, but Drake said something he already knew. He said, oh man, the record label is, but he already knew the record label was using bots. He already knew the record label was buying streams. Because they did it for him. He already knew that. So when they did it for somebody else, it became a problem. You see what I'm saying? But they do it for all the artists. Because the record label's into making money. So if they say, hey, man, we're going to make a bunch of money pushing this product, we're going to, because that's all they care about. They don't care about the beef. You think they care if anybody get killed? No. Because if you mess around and find out, as a recording artist, you get killed, record labels have insurance on you. You're an investment. They have you insured. So, and not, so you getting terminated while under contract with a record label, it really benefits the record label. So they don't have a problem with irritating and agitating beefs with people. They'll help you sell 20 million records. They'll help agitate your beef with other people. And when you get killed or taken out, unalive, whatever you want to call it, they collect insurance money on you. So they have made money from you 4 or 5 different ways and continue to do so because it is a system of exploitation. And that's all they care about. They don't care about your well-being or none of that. It's a system of exploitation. Now, the evil of triangulation, and I think I'm going to end this video here on this note. The evil of triangulation begins actually in your family. And you have to set uncomfortable boundaries. Because triangulation is a very deadly and insidious, hideous technique that is used. How many of us have had family members like, mother, father, cousin, brother, whatever. When you don't live like how they want you to live, you don't do what they want you to do, they grab the phone and pick it up and go call and tell everybody else, oh, so-and-so is doing this, so-and-so is doing that, to get people on their side so that they can kind of maneuver and force you. Because if they get your uncles and your aunts, or all to agree with them, become in a singularity of agreement with them that you're the wrong person, you're the bad person, that's gaslighting as well. But the technique of it is called triangulation. So if you have a dispute with your father and your father gets on the phone and call your uncle, your mom, your grandma, and now they're talking behind your back. And now you realize that everybody mad at you. You're like, damn, why the hell granny mad at me? Why the hell my uncle going on? Why you mad at me? Whole time, it was your dad or your mother that done called everybody you didn't even know. They done called everybody, told the story, their version of the story, added on, subtract from, multiplied, and divided within that story as they're telling it, to turn everybody else against you. That's real talk, real business. It's serious, man. It is very serious. And then you come around your own family members and you're like, damn, why y'all acting funny? Well, they acting funny because you've already been triangulated. That's all. That's why they acting funny. And so in situations like that, you have to tell your side of the story about your interaction with your father or maybe your mother or whatever. And it forces you into a cycle of continuously having to explain yourself over and over and over and over again. And not only that, they will create scenarios to justify their first distorted story. Place you in situations to justify it. And that's triangulation. So we have to, as we grow and develop, we have to expand our consciousness on a level to where we have to realize the effect of triangulation, how heinous it really is. So when you have family members that use triangulation techniques, they are very mentally ill. And a lot of people like to use the word narcissist, but I can tell you a lot of people are psychopaths. And triangulation is a tactic that psychopaths, when people are dealing with a psychopathic personality disorder, what happens is they find other psychopaths in your family and pit them against you. So now you got this group of sociopaths all together targeting you, and it's all coercive, especially from a religious, for many of us on our spiritual journey and spiritual paths. I can tell you from experience, when they don't understand your journey, when they don't understand like your path, what they do is they group up together. Like even with me, you know, in my teachings of hoodoo and root work and talking about African spirituality. I had a conversation with a cousin the other day, and I was explaining to them about bigotry. And I was saying, man, you know, bigotry is a very deadly thing, because when you collectively get together as a family and say, I'm going to mistreat this person because they don't have the same belief system that I have, that's evil. That's some evil stuff, man. Like, for real. You intentionally, like, they were watching my YouTube videos, right? You know, my own family members, you know, they were watching my YouTube videos channel and stuff like that. So they saw, and they targeted one video. They looked past all the ancestral empowerment videos. They looked past all the personal self-development videos. They looked past all of the really, really straightforward, positive videos I put out. And their minds were fixated on one video. Yeah, because he make a video in a cemetery. They fixate themselves on one video. Downloaded that one. I must be getting 100 views just from my family members downloading the video and sending it to one another. Real talk. Serious. Reality. And I say, well, what else you had a problem with? They kept repeating to me like a goddamn robot. Oh, he had a video in the cemetery. Okay, what other video you saw that you may have an issue with? He made a video in the cemetery. He made a video in the cemetery. I'm like, what else did you see? What else did you observe on my YouTube channel? And they just kept saying over and over. And at that point, you realize that you're dealing with a very, very, very ignorant bigot who is programmed and fixated on you in a particular way that is dangerous. So I had that conversation, and I told this, you know, I told my cousin, family member, I said, well, you know, I explained some things about, you know, ancestral heritage and lineage, and I even broke down some things about our family that they be putting under the rug. You know, I broke those things down. And, you know, and I say, like, you know, I'm the kind of person that I don't care about what you believe in. I don't care about your gender. Those things don't bother me. I live by the principle of your heart must be as light as a feather. So if your heart is on that scale with a feather, your heart need to be, you know, up here. Need to be as light as a feather. Which means, and this comes from ancient Kemet, the laws of Ma'at, which means that you have to have a pure heart. Be a good person. You're not a good person if you collectively come together and say, I am going to mistreat. I am going to abandon. I am going to abuse emotionally abuse someone that don't believe what I believe in. You're not a good person. Your heart is not as light as a feather. It's not. You're evil. Now, either you're evil by default or you're evil but with intentions to be evil. Now, you figure that out for yourself, but I'm going to need you to stay away from me. I'm seriously need you to stay away. So, I didn't tell them that part, like I need you to stay away, but I just told them, like, that's evil. Like, can you register that? Can you process that information? Can you? First text, 7:45. everything that our ancestors practiced. You didn't even say good morning. And I told him, I said, I got a boundary with that. When I had that conversation, I said, I got a boundary. Like, don't come at me about my personal belief. I have never attacked your version of Christianity. I've never attacked it. I've only attack evil. I don't attack like people's religion and spiritual. I don't have the energy for that. I really don't, And so I said, man, it's all about being a good person. And so we ended the conversation real good. But 7:45 yesterday morning, I received a whole text about that long. I received a text about, well, everything our ancestors practiced wasn't correct, and just went into this whole shish-kebab. Ain't even say good morning or whatever, good day or whatever. Just went like what I said really penetrated you yesterday. And it penetrated you in a way that you felt attacked. But I didn't attack you at all. I said people need to respect other people's personal belief. And the scenario I gave that family member was that infringing on someone's personal belief is like you taking a shower and I walk in the bathroom and pull the shower curtain open. I said, how would you feel if I do that? She, I would be disrespected. Okay. That's how people feel when you infringe on their personal relationship with the Most High. Don't do that. And I told him that specifically, and I used that exact scenario. If you're in the shower and I walk in there, pull the shower curtain open, how would you feel? I would be offended. Okay, that's how people feel when you infringe on their personal relationship with the Most High. You're a bigot. Stop with the bigotry. Bigotry is another thing that has destroyed Black families. And I said, look at y'all. All y'all walking around mad at me because I don't believe in the Christianized, Europeanized version of the Bible that you believe in. So you mad at me? You want to mistreat me? I don't get invited to events because of that? Really? Interesting. I mean, I don't care. I mean, I really don't. But it's interesting that people would go above and beyond to harm you emotionally, mentally, and even physically, because they'll go talk to all their friends. Now, oh Lord, that triangulation there is another level. They'll go tell her, oh yeah, he practiced witchcraft. Oh yeah, he practiced that African stuff. Oh yeah, he practiced hoodoo. It's because he practiced roots. That's the reason we treat him like that. But these same people walking around with frogs in their pocket for good luck. You see? These same people will go see a medium. That medium you're going to see is not a medium. That's just a name on their business. Come and get a medium reading. That's the name on their business. They're witches. They're warlocks. They're root workers. They're shamans. The same thing you mistreat me for, you turn around and go get a reading from someone who practiced the same and similar practices. You're a psychopath. A bigoted, hypocritical psychopath. Straight up. So when I read that text, and it, like I said, it went into the rant about the everything our ancestors practiced wasn't correct and all this other stuff. And I texted back. I said, I thought I told you my personal connection to God is non-negotiable. I thought I told you. And I said, as a result of you violating my boundary, don't you ever call or text me again. Period. Because you violated my boundary. And the reason I know you had an intent to do so, because after we had the previous conversation the day before, you pretended like everything was all right. We got off the subject and started talking about other stuff, laughing and joking and stuff. But obviously, the things that I said, And that wasn't how I said it. I'm speaking like I'm speaking now when I said those things. Like, how would you feel, you know? And so, but obviously that bigot spirit, that hypocrite spirit in them, when they woke up this morning, yesterday morning, that was the first thing on their mind. And that's spiritual. It's a spirit. Bigotry is a spirit. Hypocrisy is a spirit. That's why even in the Bible tells you we don't war against flesh and blood, meaning we ain't fighting one another. We're not doing that. We're fighting against spirits that has possessed our principalities. These spirits live in our principles. They live in our morals. This is why people manipulate and gaslight morals out here. Oh, you wrong if you do this. How the hell you wrong for defending yourself? Where'd that come from? That's a spirit. It is a spirit. So triangulation can be extremely dangerous. And when you have family members that use tactics, co-workers that use tactics, friends that use tactics of triangulation against you, that is the first sign that they are possessed with a very dangerous spirit. Because if they'll triangulate you to their family, and your family triangulates you to their friends, and the friends of your family's friends triangulate you to their friends, and they can't see that they're socially harming you by doing so, then they're dangerous and they're enemies. You need to separate yourself from them. You see? Very well and plain. And this is the undocumented truth.